5 or 6 times more than my next competitor, and so on and so forth. We've got first selectmen, big grassroots organizations, and that support is, at the end of the day, going to be critical. Now, the bottom line message here that we're going to have in this campaign is that I believe America is on the cusp of renewal. And that may sound crazy right now. But if we can get government out of the way, and we can do some of those solutions I talked about, we're going to see an explosion in job opportunity in this country, because the country's ready for it. A lot of people on there sitting on the sidelines that are ready to get back to work. There's a lot of capital out there. People are ready to invest. They're scared. If we can get the government out of the way, if we can do those basic solutions, and if we can get Congress to stop spending so much money, I think we're going to turn this corner very quickly. But really, this election is going to determine whether we have that opportunity. And so I'm here tonight to ask for your help to help make that a reality, and so we can get this country back on track and not have to worry about coming home every day, turn on the news, and finding a new crisis. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Questions for Justin?
Yes, sir. Derek.
I listened to Governor Will's State of the State today, and I heard a lot about, we need to come together, and frankly, I think we're more divisive as a country than ever, and so I know that my personal convictions are stronger than ever about what's going on. I think there's been a class differentiation, and I'm just, she also talked about, cuts and being an accountable state, right. Setting deadlines for certain things to get done, and also programs to get cut, the reduction of government. How real do you think those sentiments are as we hear, Obama speak, the State of the Union, and the State of the State from Governor Rell?
Right.
How real do you think that those?
It's hard to judge. It's hard to judge what someone else is feeling. I can speak for myself. Back in March, I'm 34 years old. Married a couple years ago. Jen and I were waiting on our first daughter, and we looked at this situation. I didn't think I was going to run for Congress in March, but we looked at the budget trends. What was going to happen to this country if it continued? And like other candidates in this race, we said, if this continues, we're going to bankrupt the country. So I got into the race in March, and everyone thought I was crazy. I said, you can't win. Obama's at 60-65% approval. Chris Murphy just got off a 62% win. And Simsbury was the first town I came into after announcing. Some of you may remember, the stump was kind of rusty back then. And I think Tom thought I was definitely nuts. And I could look out in the crowd and see, it was a shell-shocked room. We had just gotten over this shellacking. And people were wondering, there was talk about the party being over. Time magazine had this big headline, is the Republican Party extinct? I'm betting that by the next election, Time magazine will be extinct, and the Republican Party will be on the resurgence. But the key is, when we get down to Washington, we have to act like Republicans. And in the past, we haven't done that. And for that reason, the Republicans got fired. Make no mistake about it. And my commitment to you is that when I do go down there, and by the way, I'm not going to be living down there. I'm going to be living up in the Farmington Valley here, in Plainville. I'm going to be true to those principles, because we're not going to get a second chance at this. Either we avoid a bankruptcy situation for the nation, or we devalue our currency to the point where Americans no longer have the kind of buying power that we have in the past, and we're not able to create jobs. Stakes can't be higher, so I think it's very important that whoever we do send down, and at the end of the day, it's got to be a Republican from this district, that they have the integrity to follow through on what they're going to do, and so that you're not sitting there guessing at the end of the day if what I'm telling you is my true sentiment.
Thanks.
Well,
Any other questions? Yeah, Paul.
Chris Murphy's been in office now nearly 4 years, and he received a lot of money from the Democratic National Committee in his campaign against Nancy Johnson. For the last 3.5 years, he's been all over Simsbury and has been able to generate a lot of federal grants for things like, buying land, I mean, he's visible all over the place. When you talk about reducing federal spending, how do you balance that against the, quote, federal grants, some people call it pork, which it is. How do you balance that against what's come into, I'm sure it's come in here, it's come into Plainville, how do you fight that? How do you address that?
So there's two different ways to bring money back to the district. There's a normal appropriations way where these projects come down from the town, they're vetted by both the House and the Senate, and then the department that has jurisdiction. And then at that point, it's approved and it goes back to the district. And then there's the earmark process, which is the dead of the night. Some guy in town comes to the congressman, he's been to a few fundraisers, he asks for something, it's popped in there at the end of the day, and it never goes through that vetting process, so we don't know if it's a good project or not. Those earmarks have got to be eliminated. When Chris Murphy ran, he said he would not do earmarks when he got down to Congress. Now he's in the top 5% of earmarkers in the entire Congress. So for a guy who's only been there 3 years, he's really come a long way when it comes to pork. And I think a lot of that has to do with his relationship with Nancy Pelosi. He votes with Nancy Pelosi 98% of the time. And when you do that, you can expect perks in the form of earmarks and pork. And so I pledge not to do earmarks, and I'm not going to be beholden to any majority leader or minority leader, but legitimate projects are still going to get funded. Overall, of course, we need to bring government spending down. We need to make sure that those projects are legitimate and necessary, and that we're not just throwing money around with the stimulus package that we've got here. You hear about all these projects that don't make a lot of sense. But yeah, the good projects will get funded.
Thank you.
Well,
Any other questions for Justin?
I have one other question, Justin. What's your thoughts on an entity that's too big to fail? Is there such a thing?
the United States of America, right? I don't believe in the philosophy that companies are too big to fail. This country is built on companies that have failed and sprung up even stronger, small businesses. The too big to fails need to be allowed to fail. And we got into a real bad habit here with this financial crisis, singling out entities that are sacred cows. And I think we're setting ourselves up for more and more bubbles by doing that. So the short answer is, only the U.S. and the American people are too big to fail.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Justin, thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay. I have to go out to Farmington's RTC now, but I want to thank you for your time. Thank you.